From the cracked walls of a single-room apartment in Lagos, to sipping champagne on the 43rd floor of a luxury tower in Dubai, my name is Zainab, and I never imagined my life would take such a sharp, painful, yet poetic turn. This is the story of how a man I loved humiliated me for being poor, shattered my dreams, and how fate, with its quiet fury, wrote a plot twist that not even Nollywood could script. It all began with love. But it ended in a lesson no one watching should ever forget. Growing up in Ajiganol, I learned early how to make life out of little. My mother sold roasted corn, my father, may his soul rest in peace, was a mechanic. My siblings and I were raised with discipline, faith, and a hunger for more. I studied hard, earned a partial scholarship, and graduated in marketing from the University of Lagos with second-class upper. Not bad for a girl from the slums. It was during my internship at an event planning company in Victoria Island that I met Michael. Charming. Well-dressed. Confident. A client at first, then a friend, and before long, my everything. Michael was from a middle-class family in Ikeja, and worked in oil servicing. He had the language of ambition and wore his suits like armor. He would say things like, "Z, we are going to make it. Just watch." We dated for 2 years. The first year was magical. The second, brutal. The change came slowly. He started making snide comments when we were with his friends. "Zainab doesn't really know much about wine, she's more of a zobo girl." They would laugh. I would smile, pretending it didn't sting. But it did. He began comparing me to the women at his office, fair-skinned, foreign-accented, classy girls who wore designer heels and flaunted iPhones like it was oxygen. He would say, "You're beautiful, Z, but sometimes I wish you had more polish, you know." Still, I loved him. Foolishly. Then came the proposal, flashy, staged in a restaurant, with photographers and all. I said yes with tears in my eyes. Not because I was happy, but because I felt I had finally proved myself worthy of him. The wedding date was set for December. But November came with a storm. 3 weeks to the wedding, he called me into his car and spoke with the coldness of a landlord evicting a squatter. "Zainab, I can't go through with this. I thought I could manage, but I've realized, you're just too poor. My family thinks so too. We'd be unequally yoked." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe it. "You're joking," I said, shaking. "I'm not. You're a great girl. But I want a wife who fits into my world. Your background, your hustle, it's just not it." He dropped me off without so much as a hug. My dreams were crushed in the dust of Ekoe's gated streets. I cried for days. But pain, when it sits long enough in the chest, turns into purpose. The turning point. With the wedding off and the shame circulating like wildfire in our church and community, I lost weight. Not from a diet. From heartbreak. But something else was growing in me, a resolve. I quit my job at the event company and used the remaining wedding money to launch a social media page promoting affordable local events and vendors. I called it Z Hustle. I would dress up, attend free events, take pictures, then post them with engaging captions. At first, no one noticed. Then a brand reached out, a small Abuja-based startup wanted to collaborate. They paid me N50,000. That was the first time I made money doing something that felt like mine. Within 6 months, Z Hustle had over 20,000 followers. I was organizing virtual events, teaching young women how to monetize content, and managing Instagram pages for businesses. I became known for turning a local into a luxury. One of those clients changed my life. The Dubai encounter. Mr. Tariq Hamdan, the Ghanaian Lebanese tech entrepreneur, had stumbled upon my brand during a Zoom event. He messaged me personally and asked if I could help revamp his company's online presence. I didn't know who he really was until I Googled him. Billionaire. Tech visionary. Fluent in Twi and Arabic. Still, I stayed professional. We worked remotely for months, and he paid me in dollars. I began earning more than I ever dreamed, paid off my mother's debts, rented a proper apartment in Lekki, and hired a team. One day, Tariq asked, "Z, would you come to Dubai? I want you to run a brand workshop for my partners here." I laughed nervously. Me? I've never traveled abroad. He smiled on video call. There's a fast time for everything. Visa, ticket, hotel, all handled. I landed in Dubai on a Wednesday evening, and my breath was snatched by the luxury. The lights, the cars, the language of opulence. I felt like a stranger in heaven. That Friday, we attended a gala in a glass-walled tower. I wore an emerald green gown that shimmered like a queen's dream. As I stepped into the hall, my heart nearly stopped. Michael. Yes. The same Michael who left me 3 years ago. He was with a date. She was stunning, no doubt, but I saw the flicker of confusion, and then regret flash in his eyes when he saw me. He didn't know how to act. I walked past him without flinching. Tariq noticed. "You know him." "Old story," I said. Later, Michael tried to approach me. "Zeke, wait. Is that really you? You look, wow." I turned. "Come." "Yes, it's me." "You're with him?" he asked, glancing toward Tariq. I smiled. "Let's just say, poverty didn't kill me. It built me." He stood there, blinking. I walked away. Conclusion. Back in Nigeria now, I still live simply. I teach young girls digital marketing in Ajiganol on Saturdays. I've learned that success is not revenge, but healing is. Michael. He's still working the same job. Rumor has it his classy wife left him after a year. That's not my business. What is my business is this. Never let someone define your worth based on what you lack. Love is not about convenience and rejection. Sometimes it's the universe clearing space for something far greater. So, to every girl watching this who's been called too poor, too local, not enough, please hear me clearly. You are not your background. You are not their opinions. You are your own possibility. And sometimes, the most painful no life gives you is just life making room for a better yes. Back in Nigeria, my return caused more whispers than my departure. The girl from Ajiganol who was once mocked for her second-hand shoes and simple accent had now been featured on tech panels and appeared in online articles titled "Young Women Disrupting Digital Africa." But I kept quiet. I didn't post flashy photos with Tariq. I didn't make long emotional posts about levels don't change. My victory was not in showing off, it was in growing up. One Sunday after church, as I walked through the church compound with my mother, pastor's wife pulled me aside and said, "Zainab, we thank God. Oh, that man who left you, see how God turned your shame into testimony." I smiled politely but didn't respond. Because this was not about Michael. It never really was. 3 months later, I received an unexpected call. "Hello, Zainab." The voice was familiar. It was Michael. I froze. My breath caught in my throat, not from love, but from memory. "What do you want?" I asked calmly. "I heard about your success. I just wanted to say, I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry for everything." I listened in silence. "I was stupid, Z," he continued. "Blinded by pride. And maybe, still a little in love." That last part made me chuckle, not out of joy, but pity. "Michael," I said, "you didn't reject me because I was poor. You rejected me because you were poor in vision. Poor in patience. Poor in character." He sighed. "You don't have to rub it in. I'm not. But you called me. So I assume you wanted honesty. There was silence on the line. Then, in a soft voice, he said, "Do you ever think of what we could have been?" I paused. "No," I answered. "I think about what I've become. And that's more than enough." My story became one I would later share at conferences, sometimes without names, sometimes with careful pauses between words. But the real win wasn't in Dubai. It wasn't the dollars. It wasn't even the apologies. It was in the day a young girl messaged me, "Auntie Z, I want to be like you. They say my dreams are too big. But I see you and I believe." That was the true wealth. And as I stood at the opening of my new digital marketing academy, built in the same ajiganal I once cried myself to sleep in, I knew. The wedding Michael cancelled wasn't my ending. It was my beginning. 2 years later, under the shimmering Lagos sun, I stood at the grand opening of Zihab Academy, a training center I built for underprivileged girls to learn digital skills. From graphics design to content creation, brand marketing to social media management, it was everything I wished someone had taught me when I was younger. The event drew guests from NGOs, government agencies, even local celebrities. My mother, dressed in an elegant Ankara gown, sat in the front row with tears in her eyes. She kept whispering, "Zainab mi, Oloran Tiseo, God has done it." After I finished my speech, a young girl approached me. Thin, nervous, her slippers dusty from the walk. "Auntie, please, my name is Blessing. I want to learn from you. People say I'm just a poor girl, but I want to be somebody." I held her hands. "Blessing, you already are somebody. You just need tools. And I've got plenty of those." That moment broke something in me and healed me all at once. Because it reminded me why I survived. Why I kept pushing even when the pain nearly drowned me. Not for revenge. But for this purpose. If you've made it this far in my story, maybe you've felt the sting of rejection. Maybe someone has told you you're not enough. Too poor. Too loud. Too unrefined. Maybe life gave you a slap you didn't see coming. But hear this clearly. Sometimes the door that slams in your face is not punishment, it's protection. Michael thought he was upgrading by leaving me. What he didn't know was, I was the upgrade. Not because I ended up with a billionaire. But because I never needed one to become valuable. Your worth doesn't begin when someone else validates it. It begins the day you decide that your story matters, even if nobody claps yet. So walk with your chin up, even when your slippers are torn. Speak your dreams, even if your grammar is not perfect. Because greatness often grows in silent places, and diamonds. They form under pressure. Because when they say you're too poor, show them that poverty can birth power. And when they come back, curious, regretful, maybe even still in love, look them in the eye and say with peace, "I'm not bitter. I'm just better."